My next guest is a well-known supermodel, celebrity chef, restaurateur, and lifestyle expert. Nothing slipped by her until one day the news came. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's risk.
Early onset Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
Yo trabajo ayudando a Ana. Cuando yo vine a finales del año 2012 a esta casa, a este hogar, Ana todavía hacía movimientos, se le ayudaba para comer, se metía al baño. El proceso de ella ha ido cada vez olvidando más sus movimientos, la manera de comer. Poco a poco, en el primer verano íbamos al parque, a Central Park, al West Center Park. Salíamos bastante con ella a medida que el tiempo fue pasando. Ella también ha ido desmejorando y su vida automáticamente va cambiando, va olvidándose más y más de los movimientos, de acciones, de tratar de hablar. Al principio ella trataba de comunicarse, o cuando le hablábamos, ella trataba de conectar, pero no podía. Entonces quedaba callada, como quería ella hablar y no podía, se sentía como un poquito frustrada y fue dejando todo esto. Hoy en día se le ayuda a comer, para bañarse necesita la ayuda completamente de su hija, de sus hijas y de mí. A ella hay que ponerle en la bañera, usa la silla y todo se hace por ella. Se viste, usa pamper y su comida es ya puré, como una comida de un bebé. Se le da despacio porque ya ella traga bien despacio, y su bebida igual es poquitico a poquitico. Algunas veces se cansa y le damos con jeringuilla, porque necesitamos darle bastante líquido para mantenerla a ella con líquido, lo que necesita el cuerpo, ¿no? Y eso es lo que yo ayudo acá a la familia. Son etapas bastante difíciles para la familia, inclusive para mí. Aprecio a Ana. Ana tiene un carácter muy bonito a pesar de su condición, que es un proceso bastante difícil. Pues yo pasé por eso con el abuelo. Me siento como con la familia, poderlas entender y comprender la situación tanto de Ana como de la familia, porque es un proceso bastante triste, no sé cómo explicarlo, pero es triste para la familia, y no es algo que lamentablemente los seres humanos tenemos que pasar. Y ver que ellos te miran y es como si no lo estuvieran haciendo. Es que tú les preguntas qué sientes, qué quieres. Es difícil porque querer saber como, Ana, ¿quieres comer esto? No. Ana, ¿qué te gustaría comer? Y ella no poderte, o sea, decir quiero comer, o por ejemplo decir no quiero comer esto. Y, o sea, es una etapa bastante difícil de comprensión.
As you stated before, earlier, that your grandmother is the reason why you're doing this documentary.
Right. She was born in Puerto Rico in a small town called Quebradillas, which is right outside Arecibo. She was born in 1925 in the island, and in her 20s, She worked on a farm between, I think, 1947 and 1949, and there she picked cotton, tobacco, and gandules. Gandules, what we call here in America is pigeon peas. During that time in the 1940s was the golden age of pesticide use. The U.S. government approved all sorts of pesticide use without really knowing the long-term effects of these pesticides.
What do you want your documentary to accomplish?
I'm hoping to bring more awareness about this disease because currently we're so Trump heavy in media right now. This disease doesn't really get mentioned much.
Because they think it's hurting her, but hello, when you're on warfarin, it's kind of different. Because you're on the medication, a high medication, you know?
Like grab the elderly, they get these bruises.
Yeah.
Because their skin is and their bones are very sensitive.
Yeah.
And they end up with those marks.
We've made essentially no progress at all in treating Alzheimer's disease.
Tell me your fondest memories of your grandmother and your uncle.
My fondest memories?
Yeah.
Them always being there and trying to build a good family structure and also, how should I say this, to take pride in who I was, like my race, who I was as a person. More of my race, you know, being Puerto Rican and living in Spanish Harlem in the late 70s into the 90s, going into the 90s. They, you know, they instill good value in me, good values that have helped me up to this day.
Tell me when you first noticed the changes. What happened exactly?
What happened?
Yeah, what happened with them?
The first thing I noticed was my grandmother. She started getting a lot of burns from cooking. That was like the first things we noticed. It was like a lot of burns. Then, you know, forgetting things that usually, you know, she always had the same system. Not system, but just ways, like every morning, go to the bodega, go buy our fruits and vegetables, always buying our food that we cooked, or we ate that day, buying the food that same day. That was like her thing. always eating fresh. So it was like, I just noticed a lot of the same things that she was doing, that she wasn't doing, forgetting a lot of things, getting frustrated quicker than before. So yeah, that was like one of the things we noticed. That, and like I said, just like the forgetfulness, the burns, the forgetfulness, and sometimes confusion. She was sometimes confused, like little small things would confuse her. So that was like the start.
What kind of, you mentioned that your uncle is also currently dealing with the ravages of dementia. What behaviors did your uncle exhibit that you believe contributed to this disease?
Solitude. Like he was heavy into church. He still is. He's alive now. He was heavy into church, and he would like barricade himself in his room. Like not a lot of human interaction. It's a lot of just like Bible. Everything was the Bible, and started having like almost like a fear of the public. Like everything is not always thinking the worst of things that happen. Not always thinking the better. Or assuming positive intent with a lot of things. Everything was just like bad. So he kind of like secluded himself from like the world for like a while, for almost like a year. And then from there, then I just started seeing the hiding of things. That was like one of the first things I noticed. He would hide stuff. So he was like, he was hiding like his change or like IDs. One time I'm in my room, and he like comes in my room and like lifts up my bed, and there's like a little sock with like his ID and like change and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, like this is becoming a problem. So that's when it started.
Tell me about their lives in PR. What kind of work did they do?
Well, he went to the military. My uncle went to the military. When they came up here, my grandmother was a house mother. She took care of my aunt, my mother, and my uncle.
Oh, he went to the military?
Yeah, he went to the military. So,
in Vietnam?
I believe so. Yeah, he was really quiet about it, because when he became, the church man, he always. By the time I was born, he was already in the church, so I guess he tried to keep that away from me. But yeah, he was involved in a lot of things when he was younger, So yeah.
So he's a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
Did you know that in Puerto Rico they tested Agent Orange?
Of course. Agent Orange, and then we spoke about the morning after pills on the women. So there was they were tested on us. Heavy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cooking practices in most Latino homes use aluminum. Do you think aluminum is also a contributor?
Yeah, really big. The sartén too, that old sartén that grandmother brought from Puerto Rico, the old cast iron ones, that. Aluminum, definitely aluminum. Aluminum is, it's been in a lot of foods. A lot of our foods actually have a lot of aluminums that we were using, especially how we were, what our diets were part of, like we were consuming when we were younger.
Right.
But I guess with them, after a prolonged time of consuming these same things and that buildup, so I can definitely say that. Yeah. Aluminum, heavy trans fats, the heavy starches and all that stuff. Our diet is heavily starch-based with the rice and the beans and, fried foods and stuff like that. It's not like we have the greatest diet when it comes to, the proteins, the way we prepare our proteins, but yeah.
People with Alzheimer's and dementia are most likely to be abused verbally, physically, or robbed. How has this happened to your grandmother or uncle?
Yeah. It happened to my grandmother one time when she finally started, when we came to grips that she was sick, whatever, when she was getting, she got diagnosed. I was taking care of her. And there was one time, I had my girlfriend at the time. She, we wanted to meet up. I was still young. I was probably like 20. And, you need your time with your lady. So she came over the house. It was me, her, and my grandmother, and one of my grandmother's friends, Sayang, from 119th Street. Sayang was actually like 108 years old when she died, 109 years old when she died. She was from Santo Domingo. And she told me, bring her over here. So, she brought her over. And I brought her over, I should say. I brought her over, and I went back home. So I'm watching TV, me and her watching TV. and I hear the door, tussling. So we're in the projects, we're in Wagner projects. You know how the doors open, they push inwards. So as she's opening the door, another hand like pushes the door open, and it was like base head, crackhead, and then it was like another crackhead. He had like rope. He had rope with him, whatever, and I guess they were gonna tie her up or do whatever. So things happened, whatever, and that situation. But they were probably gonna rob her, tie her up, rob her. But she told them that the dog downstairs said I had the money, so they brought her upstairs. She'll take care of them. So I guess they whatever. So and probably God knows what they would have did to her if I wasn't in the house. So that's probably when we really knew. Now we can't even leave her by herself now, man. Yeah.
You said the other day that someone tried to rob your uncle and take $800.
Yeah. In a parking lot, he supposedly he scratched some man's car, like opening the door in the parking, and then the guy, I know for a fact that he probably was like, he seen something was wrong with my uncle, because also the way he was dressing, he started dressing really odd, like different shoes, like he just didn't look like a regular person in the street. It was something that wasn't right there. So I know he took advantage of him, because I know he probably told my uncle like, what you gonna do? Like scratch my car. So I guess my uncle, whatever money he had, he took out, he gave him the money. They did an exchange, from what I know, they didn't exchange like, insurances or anything like that. So the dude kept calling the house or whatever. I wasn't there. I was like pretty much working, I had a new job, so I wasn't really home. And then when my mother caught wind to it, the guy was like really, trying to take advantage of him, stuff, Probably more fear-based than anything, like trying to debo him, shake him down.
What advice would you give to caregivers that are new at dealing with this?
Be patient. Patience. Also, especially if you're family and it's somebody that you love, it hurts you more. You know what I mean? Because you're seeing them come from being like the gold standard of the house. Like they run, like my grandmother was the hammer, you know what I'm saying? She ran the show. To see them now going back like degenerate, like just going back to like a child, where the dependency now comes, now they need you, So that breaks you down, and you gotta understand that you have no control over it. So if you sit there and you try to fight and it's not gonna work, I learned that probably a couple of years in, that I just had no control over the situation. So you just have to try to make the best out of it, and just try to just enjoy what time you have with them, any kind of verbal communication or anything like that, because it could break a family down like really fast, because it gets stressful. So I just say like patience, and try to get all of the help you can get early, like pick up on it early. Go to the hospital, find out about the insurances, Social Security, find out any kind of help that you can get, because before you know it, there's gonna be a time and point where you can be with them, and then after a while, they're gonna need someone that's there with them like 24 hours. And going through the system right now, even with insurance or anything, it's really hard to get help, because it's still like, it's hard. It's just hard to get the help, get good help at that.
Yes. What happened at the doctor's office with the doctor once your grandmother was diagnosed and she was seeing a regular doctor?
Yeah, Mount Sinai. We was in Mount Sinai, and I just remember one time coming out of work, and we already had what's that company? The Ready Ride or Ready Lift, where they pick up your. Remember, so they brought her over, and I just remember being in the room with her, whatever, trying to talk with her, and then the doctor comes in, and he just like looks at her, like doesn't like, he just looks at her. He doesn't do anything medical, like like check her ear, check her blood pressure, look at her eyes. She had glaucoma too, so and he just is like up her dose 500 milligrams. So I spazzed. I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you didn't, like, I don't know what kind of doctor you are that you could just come into a room and look at somebody and automatically assume that you got to raise up their milligrams or whatever, like, you know. So that just bothered me, and, you know, and then I've had my beefs with the hospital. I could go on with this for a while now, but I had my beefs with them because when she had gallstones, and this was when she first was coming down, when the dementia was starting. And she was still there, like, she was still functional, she was still going to church, she was still, you know, she had her friends, you know, she still was, you know, she was still there, you know. Then when she went there, you know, she had a little bad thing one night where, you know, she was scared. She was an older lady already, she was in the hospital. I guess she was sleeping, woke up, got scared, started, you know, she started flipping, like, she just was like, get me out of here, da, da, da. So the nurses there, without our consent, they gave her, I guess, the whatever that thing is to calm you down, like, you know, a shot or something to calm her down. And she went through the operation, whatever, and I just felt that when she came back home, it just went from here to here. She just went, like, completely, like, really getting more violent. It just sped up the whole process, you know. Like, I know people that tell me they've had their relatives that suffered dementia for 15, 16, 17 years. Hers lasted, say, 8 years. But it just happened so fast. So I always felt, and I would talk to my mother, and I'd be like, Mommy, I feel like it was when they gave her whatever that was to calm her down, it sped it up, you know? It sped it up to a point where you go from one level to another really fast. And then I just say it was that. It had to be that, because it was just a completely different person when she came back from the hospital. So we can't always say that, yeah, there's stress and this and that, and be quick to always throw drugs on people, because I feel it is reversible. I feel it's reversible in the sense of, like, you have to feed your mind. You have to keep your mind going. You can't be stagnant and just stop learning. Like, every day you need to learn something new, do different things, keep your mind and your spirit going. Yeah, I mean, I told you about that hospital, what they're doing over there, like, once or twice a week. They give the people, the older people, iPads and stuff like that. It's a whole bunch of different stuff, things that they've never seen, and make them. And it's been shown that it awakens electrons and stuff like that in their mind. Like, they're, like, you know, doing stuff they've never done before, and it awakes them. So yeah, it's dope. So I think that's part of more of the medicine, the physical medicine itself. I don't even think they need medicine. I think they need attention. That's the medicine, attention and talking to people and love, because a lot of people, I worked in Terrence Cardinal Cook. My first summer job was in Terrence Cardinal Cook on 105th Street in Madison. And they did me dirty since I was, like, the biggest kid there. They had me, like, carrying the oxygen tanks up to the rooms, the floors, that it distributed the oxygen throughout the floor for the people. And there was the Alzheimer's patients there, and I just remember there was people there that they were just always by themselves. Family stopped coming. You know, there was this one lady there who never spoke, and I was told I was the first person she spoke to in, like, 4 or 5 years. Just because I felt like no one ever spoke to her. So when I would go by her room, I'd be like, what up? Like, what's up, you know? You good? You know, and, like, she would just give me, like, these crazy looks. But it was every day I would see her, so she kept seeing her. I'd be like, what's up? You know, like, you good? You know, my friends know how I am. You know, I joke around with everybody. So my whole thing with, like, a lot of women or older ladies, I'd be like, let me hold something, man. Oh, you got that money, you know, you got your nice jewelry, you chilling, you know, you got your hair done. And, you know, I seen her smile, so it was dope. And then one day she spoke to me. And the nurse was like, you know, she's never spoken to nobody, and this and that. I was 18 at the time, and I'm like, well, have you ever tried to talk to her? You know what I mean? Like, just maybe good morning or good afternoon, something, you know, something that these people in them rooms dying. Like, I just remember every 2-3 weeks, I would just see another empty room. And it eats at you, you know what I mean? And it was like, again, it was the Alzheimer's people, but I just noticed that a lot of people would turn away from them. I guess the one thing now I'm proud to say of my family is that, you know, my grandmother died at home.